back to recursion. When we talk about recursion, we mean recursive rules, and recursive rule means that rules that are repeatable any number of times. The simple phrase structure rules have no recursive elements, so we have so far made very short sentences and short phrases, right, in which there is no recursion. No element has been repeated more than one time. Each time we start to create an S, we only create a single S sentence structure. I mean, all the sentences start with an S, right? So they don't have more than one S within an S. So we actually need to be able to include structures, sentence structures, within other sentence structures. So that means that we should have more than one sentence in a single sentence structure. If we would be talking about traditional grammar, we would say that a sentence may have more than one clause, right? So in traditional grammar, these sentence structures were described as clauses. For example, there are some independent clauses joined by coordinating conjunction, and there are dependent clauses with independent clauses, right? So in the traditional sense of grammar, we are talking about clauses, and in the generative sense of grammar, we are talking about sentence within sentence. So let's look at this sentence: Mary helped George. It's a single sentence. Kathy knew that Mary helped George. So we have sentence within a sentence. Kathy knew. So this is one sentence. That Mary helped George, it is another sentence. Though the second sentence, that Mary helped George, according to the traditional grammar, is a subordinate clause, and the structure of this sentence will go like Kathy, subject, knew, verb, and knew what, that Mary helped George, is actually the direct object, but here the direct object is not a phrase, it's a clause or it's a sentence. Being tediously recursive, there are certain sentences which are very recursive. I mean, there are so many repeatable elements in those sentences. So, for example, look at this. John believed that Kathy knew that Mary helped George. So, if you look at this, we have three sentences, or in the traditional sense, three clauses. John believed, Kathy knew, Mary helped George. So, three clauses or three sentences grouped into one sentence. Obviously, the main S will be same, but there will be certain branches within the main S which carry the same, the S again and again. Two new proper nouns and two new verbs have been used in this sentence. So, proper noun, John and Kathy, and verb, believed and knew. So, the word that introduces a complement phrase. So, the complement phrase, for example, John knew that Mary, that George. So, the next two, after the believe, we have two sentences which have been introduced by the conjunction that, right? So, this is called, they are the complementing phrase or complement phrase of that. Mary helped George. Kathy knew that Mary helped George. So that Mary helped George is that complement phrase. And then John believed that Kathy knew that Mary helped George. So that Kathy knew is that complement phrase, and that Mary helped George is again another complement phrase. So in this topic of recursion, we have seen that within a single sentence, we can have more than one sentence. And this is the recursion aspect of the genetic grammar that talks about creativity in the language.